In this module, we will spend the great majority of the time focusing on how thriving students respond when things get tough. So, in this video, I want to explore how using a positive perspective equips students to respond to a negative event at school and its connections to stress management specifically. Students using a positive perspective don't overreact to a negative event in their school life. Instead, Schreiner says that they take a broader and more long-term view of events that happen to them. You might be able to picture how reframing a negative event to find some positive benefit or learning opportunity can help students handle stress better. Schreiner says that it's because they come to grips with difficult situations more readily and with less distress, using coping mechanisms that foster better outcomes for the student. This way of responding to negative events, including stress, allows thriving students to experience more positive emotions on a regular basis. According to Schreiner, this has at least 4 benefits. The first is probably not surprising to you. Schreiner says that thriving students bounce back from adversity and recover faster from illness and stressful events. So, thriving students don't sweat the small stuff. As they continue to respond in adaptive ways and experience the payoff of positive emotions, their thinking becomes more open and flexible, more creative and receptive to new information, and more capable of critical problem solving. But the benefits of a thriving approach don't just stay with the individual students. Schreiner says that thriving students also become more attuned to others' needs, making them less racially biased and more likely to help others. With this helpful approach to the individual and the collective, we can see why thriving students report higher satisfaction with both their life and with their university experience in particular. But I want to back up. What exactly is Schreiner referring to when she says that these students handle stress better because they don't overreact? Here's what I think Schreiner is referring to when she says that students using a positive perspective don't overreact. We know that stress happens when we overestimate the demands or meaning or consequence of the event, or when we underestimate our ability to manage these demands. So, a thriving student response would be the opposite of what you see here, where thriving students using a positive perspective would use a more accurate filter when they measure the same 2 things. Number 1, the meaning and consequence of that negative event. And number 2, their ability to manage the negative consequences of that event. Okay, we're going to return to this concept when we study Brescher and Schaefer's conceptualization of using optimism as a skill, or what I like to call a tool to defeat imposter syndrome. So, in other words, like Dr. Kelly McGonigal says in her famous TED Talk about stress, thriving students use a positive perspective to make friends with just about everyone, including the stress in their life. However, before I finish this video, I have to pause to make sure that I am not misunderstood. I am not saying that you should purposely create stressful situations to somehow produce this resilient response in your students. I am particularly passionate about this because the last thing we want to do is put even more barriers in the way of students who are already marginalized or feeling like they don't belong in our classrooms. Instead, I am committed to increasing the diversity of our students who can find success in our classrooms, and I hope you are too. So, when I talk about stressful situations or activities in the classroom, I am specifically referring to learning experiences that are stressful and that you and your students recognize the value of keeping in your course, not as a rite of passage, but as a valuable learning experience. So, continue on through this module to see how you can work with your students to foster a positive perspective on stress so that more of your students can experience success in your classroom.